Hello guys, this is your friend and we're back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto unlocked all 5 elements at 7? Naruto Harem, Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Mind telling me what's in the scroll? Anko asked sweetly, a little too sweetly. Naruto looked warily at her. No, he held the scroll behind him. An eyebrow rose. Why? It's a surprise. The boy stuck his tongue out at her. And we're husband and wife now, tell me what's in the scroll, she whispered angrily. No, he growled at her and turned away. Gaki, just, hey, get your back here, she yelled at him when she noticed he had started running away from her towards a nearby playground. Oi you brat, get back here, she chased after him. The chase lasted a good 10 minutes as they ran through the busy market district, and Anko had to admit, the kid was fast for his age. Hell, he was almost as fast as a high-ranked genin, and the way he weaved in and out of crowds of people baffled her. Hey, catch me if you can, Naruto whispered to himself as he made his way to the playground. He took to jumping from stall to stall as his destination came into view. Almost there, he laughed. As he made a final leap to one of the slides, unfortunately for him he overshot it a bit and lost his footing. Shit, he cursed as he lost his balance and fell over the edge. Eep! A voice from below cried as a loud thump sounded. ... Ouch! Naruto rubbed his head as he leaned up on one arm. Where? He froze when he noticed a small girl in a similar situation next to him. Hi. He rubbed the back of his head nervously, feeling that his hat had fallen off in the fall. Hello. The girl stuttered. Hello as well, the name's Naruto, and sorry for falling on ya, I'm kinda being chased by Mayan-chan. Hinata. She poked her fingers together nervously, and who is A and C-chan? Gaki, get your out here now, a voice screamed in the distance. Naruto's sweat dropped. That would be her. I don't want you to get in trouble too, so I'll sneak away, just keep quiet please. He turned away from her, looking around nervous. Anyo, Naruto-san. Yeah, he turned to her curiously. Is this your hat? She held up the thing in question. Yeah, thanks. He flashed her a smile that made the girl feel all fuzzy on the inside as he put the hat on his head. Thanks for the help, I kinda needed it. You know you're a nice person. He flashed another smile that made her melt. Thank you. Hinata blushed. No problem, see ya. He jumped over the fence that separated the playground from the road and ran off. There you are, you brat, come back here. A voice yelled in the distance. In Naruto-san, no. Naruto-kun, the girl thought to herself. He's nice, not like father, and those ears on his head. The girl blushed again. She had peeked at the boy's head when he was looking around, and said appendages had grown enough to be noticeable above his hair. So cute. Ooh. Naruto shivered slightly. I suddenly feel threatened. He shivered again with Anko not far behind him. Several hours later, top of the Hokage monument, sunset. Damn it. Gaki, Anko choked out, huffing in exhaustion. I told you already it was a secret. The boy stuck his tongue out at her with his back to the edge. Apparently the chase had made its way through most of the village and ended on top of the Hokage monument, coincidentally on the head of the Yondaime. Alright already, Anko gasped, it's a secret, now get your happy over here away from the edge. Naruto looked at her for a moment defensively, relaxing slightly when Anko backed off. Will you promise not to take the scroll? Yeah, I promise, now hurry up. Naruto slowly made his way towards her, keeping the scroll tight in his fist. Hurry up, damn it, she growled. Naruto approached her warily, keeping an eye on her hands. When she flashed behind him, his eyes flew wide as a fist connected with the back of his head. 2 minutes later. Okay, I deserved that one, Naruto thought, weeping anime tears. What have we learned? Again. Don't piss you off. He rubbed the large knot on his head comically. Close enough. She picked him up by the back of his shirt and brought him to eye level. Scare me like that again and I'll have my snakes tie you up for the day and you won't do jack shit, understand? Yes, Anko-san, he nodded quickly. Good, I'll respect your privacy for that damn scroll, but let's get some dango, chasing you made me hungry. Wait, En-chan. The boy grabbed her coat. What is it, Gaki? She turned around and crouched low, hearing the pleading in the boy's voice. I'm sorry about scaring you. I didn't just run away to get away from you, I kinda wanted to show you my special place. His voice trailed off as he nervously looked away. Anko turned beet red for a moment, thinking he meant, well, something dirty, but the boy turned away from her and pointed towards the western wall of the village. Anko looked and her voice caught in her throat. In front of her was a view she had never seen before. The entire village was bathed in a crimson sunset. It was too beautiful to even say anything. She only knelt close to Naruto and enveloped him in a hug from behind. Neither one said anything, they just sat there and watched the sun set, turning the world from red to orange, orange to purple, and finally ending in a deep ocean blue that gave way to the first stars of the night. Anko was silent for a long time after that, still holding onto the boy for dear life. Finally her voice, nothing but a whisper, broke the silence, and Naruto. Yeah, he whispered back. Thank you. She squeezed him tighter. A few minutes passed before Naruto spoke. Quote. Anko. Yeah, I can't breath. Ah, she replied blankly, releasing the boy, who was turning an unhealthy shade of blue. Sorry. Naruto gasped as she let him go. Don't worry about it. Alright, Gaki, let's get going. I worked up an appetite chasing you around. After we get some food, we're going home. Okay, En-chan. He grabbed a hold of the woman's arm and the two of them walked to the nearest dango shop, suggested by Anko, via sharp pointy her teeth things. It's been 2 weeks since the accident. With the help of a gag order from Sarutobi, most of what happened to Naruto was reduced to a rumor. The Uchiha massacre that happened only a few days after that drew even more attention away from him. With the entire village focused on the tragedy, it kept Naruto out of the public eye long enough for most people to forget about the incident. In that time, Naruto's fox ears grew out to full size. His tail was the next thing to come in. The fluffy appendage was currently sticking out the back of a pair of casual clothes he had stitched together from another large shirt Anko had given him. The bagginess of the pants was more comfortable on his rear since the tail was still a little tender. He still shuddered when he thought back on Anko's reaction to it. Quote. The pain, too squishy, he shivered unconsciously. Sadly, our young hero suffered firsthand from the combined effects of marshmallow hell and an overly zealous glomping. Cammy help him if any other women got a hold of him. Hell, he was still massaging the kinks out of his tail. Though it was weird having a tail to begin with, his sense of balance was thrown off, but at the same time felt more balanced overall. He also felt stronger, and his senses were increasing as well. If things kept going the way they were going, he might even consider this a blessing rather than a curse. Oi, Gaki! Anko called from the entrance to the tower, breaking the boy from his musing. He turned to her curiously. Yeah, En-chan. I think it's time I start training you. You've had a week to get used to your new animal parts, and I think it's time we bust and start your ninja training. His face lit up. Yeah, it's getting boring just sitting around doing nothing. I'm ready for anything you can throw at me, hopping around a couple times and doing a few punches and kicks to prove his point. Actually, first I want to know something. The blonde stopped and looked at her. What? You know that jutsu you used when we talked to Kyubi? He thought a moment. Oh, you mean the Kyubi shadow clone jutsu? Yeah, that one. Do you know the parent jutsu? The shadow clone jutsu? He nodded. Yeah, that was the first thing Kyubi taught me so I could use the Kyubi clone. Why? Well, now things get a lot easier. Do you know the special ability of shadow clones, Gaki? No. Why? He scratched his head in thought. Try and make as many as you can and I'll show you. Okay. He shrugged, gathering a large amount of chakra, shadow clone jutsu. A giant puff of smoke filled the clearing. When the smoke cleared, there was easily more than 200 clones around Anko. Anko's eyes widened as she noticed all the clones. She yelled, literally falling on her in surprise. Naruto looked around confused. What? Did I not make enough? Not enough? Are you insane? Anko's thoughts were whirling. How the hell can he make so many shadow clones? For Sasuke, I've never seen anyone make this many. Wait, if he can make this many. My god. The third was right, the brat could be a prodigy in the making. Screw the bloodlines and the elements, just being able to do this is a gift itself. And Chan, are you alright? His voice was filled with concern. Why yeah, just fine. The shock was finally beginning to wear off. Just the thought of what he could do with this many clones made her adrenaline rise. All the possibilities. No bad Anko. No gangbang jutsus. She slapped herself and stood up quickly. Naruto, don't worry, if anything this should be impossible to do, just the fact you are doing it is amazing. He tilted his head. So what now? Now I show you a neat trick that shadow clones can do, shadow clone jutsu. She yelled out, a single clone forming beside her. Have one of your clones follow me, Gaki. As the clone walked off into the woods. You heard her. One of the clones broke off from the rest and followed Anko's clone deep into the woods. After a few minutes of walking, Naruto's clone turned to Anko's clone, now WH. The clone started to ask, but before the clone could even react, Anko's clone had stabbed it with a kunai, dispelling it. A second later, Anko's clone dispelled as well. Back with the original. Oi, why'd you kill my clone? Naruto growled. She grinned. But how did you know I killed it? What do you mean you just? The boy frowned in confusion, before a small smirk slowly crossed his face. Anything a clone experiences gets sent back to the original when it's dispelled, doesn't it? Got it in one, Gaki. She laughed. From now until you join the academy next year, you are going to be training with shadow clones. By the time you make Genin, I'll have your at Chunin level. She flashed him an evil grin which sent a chill up his spine. This wasn't going to be pleasant, he just knew. Alright, first off, we aren't going to be learning any new jutsu, I'm telling you that now. What we're going to cover till you start the academy is chakra control and nature transformation. She walked over to a nearby tree and yanked a leaf off one of its limbs. First, is chakra control exercises. As she placed the leaf on her forehead and channeled chakra into it to float it lazily above her head, much to Naruto's amazement. The objective of this first exercise is basic control. Keep the leaf floating over your head with chakra for as long as you can. It's not power you're after, it's control. Since there's around 200 clones here, we'll have 100 working on chakra control, and 20 each working on a separate element. She grabbed the 5 elemental scrolls from her pouch and tossed them to one of the clones. Get to work, she then pointed to the original. You're coming with me. She was about to walk away when something stopped her. Oh. She yelled at the mass of clones, hey, if you need to dispel, don't do it all at once or you'll give the original a bitch of a headache. She turned away from the mass of clones. Come on, let's go. The two of them walked to another clearing on the other side of the tower. So what are we doing over here? He asked curiously. Simple. Since shadow clones can only send back mental information, physical abilities need to be worked on by the original. Sure, you can work on your reflexes and instinct, but things like muscle memory and increasing your body's strength, speed, stamina and flexibility is all down to you. He raised an eyebrow. So we're exercising? She smirked. Something like that. An evil chuckle escaped her lips as she explained her training. All the while Naruto turned paler and paler. Are you insane? Finally finding the words to express himself. Maybe. She laughed. But that doesn't change the fact that you're going to do it. Naruto sighed. The sooner he got this over with, the sooner he could rest. Kami, it was going to be a long day. 200 push-ups, sit-ups, kicks, punches and squats all before lunch, and then I have to spar with her. This is going to hurt. With the clones. Okay, let's see here. Nature transformation, the basics. The clone scanned each of the scrolls intently. Channel chakra into the object and imagine that element's properties in that object. For fire, superheat your chakra and imagine burning the object. For wind, split your chakra in half and grind it to a fine edge to cut the object. For lightning, aggravate your chakra in the object to create a static charge. For earth, harden your chakra around the object and grind against it. For water, use your chakra to gather the moisture in the air and soak the object. Seems pretty straightforward. The clone grabbed a leaf and held it up high. All right, Mies, it's time to get to work. The clone pumped its fist before it dispelled itself and sent the info through the ranks. Hokage's office. So it begins An image of Naruto flashed through the crystal ball. Hey, just seeing that many clones makes me feel old, Sarutobi chuckled to himself. I see great things in your future, Naruto. Your father passed his will on to you while your mother passed on her love. Remember both their sacrifices, Naruto. Grow stronger from them and show the world you aren't some demon. Show them the real you, the you your parents would be proud of. He sat there for a long moment taking a drag off his pipe, the quiet of the room ringing in his ears. The third sighed as he exhaled the smoke from his lungs. Good luck, Naruto. Knowing your father's luck, you'll need it. A dry laugh filled the air as the third again sat in silence. Although knowing your mother's luck. A few hours later, back with the original Naruto. Kami, kill me now. The boy mentally yelled. His arms were already like jelly, but Anko insisted he learn the basic katas to her taijutsu style so they could spar. He had learned the first and second katas through the use of shadow clones, but the woman wasn't letting up. She kept pressing him to learn the moves, and any time his stance was off she'd correct him, with sharp pointy things. Okay Gaki, you got the first 3 kata down for this style, those are the basics, and they're enough to get you through a light spar, so come on, get off here and let's do this. She stood a few meters away from him in what she called the Python stance, a stance based on defense and single heavy strikes, perfect to spar against without killing the kid. Can't we at least take a 5-minute break? I can't even feel my arms right now. Quit the bitching. Can't feel your arms, can't feel the pain now, attack me, or do I have to come to you? She rose an eyebrow at this, almost daring him to let her attack first. The hell, I'd give you a reason to kick my ass. He charged forward in the standard Viper stance, the most basic of the stances built on speed and quick successive strikes. As it stood, the boy was decent in speed and could deliver fairly strong punches even if the stance he was currently using was meant for cherry tapping. Ah! The boy yelled, as he ran towards Anko, fist leading in a vicious punch. That's more like it. She blocked the strike with her palm. With a swift jerk she tossed the boy behind her. Naruto flew through the air a few feet before he righted himself in the air and landed on all fours. He dug his feet in and rushed her again, dodging from side to side, to try and throw Anko off. Not bad, kid. She laughed, dodging to the side to trip him and send him rolling into a tree in a heap. But not good either. You leave yourself too open when you charge. When you come in for a strike and you're ducking back and forth like that, you need to keep inside of your opponent's striking arm and make sure you can correct yourself if your opponent dodges. That was a good try though. Now pick up your dignity and fight me. Crazy snake bitch. Naruto grumbled under his breath as he got back into his stance and charged again, coming in for a low strike to the ankles, hoping to cripple his opponent somewhat to at least give him some advantage. It didn't help his self-esteem any that he was having to fight someone twice his size. Anko responded to the kick by hopping just over it, bringing her foot up as she did so to catch Naruto under the chin, sending him flying back again. He rolled with it and got to his feet after sliding a good 15 feet. Tell me again, how kicking my is supposed to make me stronger? Naruto asked, rubbing his bruised jaw. It's training, deal with it, she stated flatly. Figures, he mumbled, getting back into position again. This time he was going to take it slower, just rushing in there wasn't doing anything. Oh, using a defensive stance. Well now, let's test it, shall we? A wide grin crossed her face as she rushed him. Shit, Naruto cursed. Bringing his arms in front of him in a cross to stop the kick aimed for his face, the blow knocked him back a few feet. He rolled to the side as a fist connected with the ground where he was a second before. He placed his hands on the ground and kicked out with his left foot, catching Anko on her lead shoulder before tucking into a roll to dodge a kick she threw his way. Quickly getting to his feet, he blocked a punch and sent it wide. Getting in closer under her guard, he sent a punch into her stomach before hopping back to get out of the grapple she was going for. Hey, that was a nice punch, Gaki. She coughed. That actually hurt a little. You do know that this is hardly fair, right? You're twice my height and weight, many times my experience, and I'm pretty sure you're just toying with me. And you think you won't fight people like that when you become a ninja? Anko deadpanned. I fought Orochimaru's snake summons and won in a taijutsu match. Those bastards are bigger than a house. You think that bothered me at the time? Hell no. I did exactly what you are doing now, using your opponent's movements against them and striking when you have an opening. She smirked again. And since you've hit me, you're clearly up to this level of speed. This level. A sinking feeling filled his stomach. Low genin speed test complete. She yelled exuberantly. High genin time. Fuck. His words were cut off by a fist to the face. -3 months later. Alright, Gaki. Take 5. Anko yelled at him as the boy collapsed in a heap. He had spent the last 3 hours doing nothing but endurance training, which frankly surprised her. She'd thrown other chunin through her personal gauntlet a few times in her career, and the Gaki handled it like a seasoned jonin. The kid had stamina, there wasn't any doubt about it. Maybe he could use that stamina for other things. Kukukuku hrk bad Anko. She slapped herself. No pedo thoughts. She looked out over the clearing to see her husband's clones at work. His chakra control and change in chakra nature training was going well. He'd gotten the leaf floating exercise after the first week of training, though even with his clones it took a while since he was still a child and his control was abysmal at best. Even now, tree climbing was still a bit difficult for him to maintain. Of course, she was also making him float leaves while climbing the trees to maximize the tortu training. As for the change in nature training, he'd completed channeling all 5 elements into a leaf. He was struggling through the second part of the training though. It would most likely take him the rest of the year to finish the second step for each element. Anko's mouth cracked into a wicked smirk. Plenty of time to get the kid's ass-kicking potential up to snuff. The smirk spread out into a large ear-to-ear grin. The academy teachers won't know what the hell hit them. Kukukukuku hrk. -7 months later. The loud yells of children and the shuffling of feet surround the pair as they made their way through the crowd towards the academy doors. All around them there were children of several different age groups, the largest of which was right in front of them, the fresh meat, as the older students joked. That first year would be starting point, where the dreams of many a genin hopeful would follow. Hey, a lot of competition, Gaki. Think you can handle it? Naruto snorted in amusement. Please, after that hell you put me through. He shot her a small glare. You should feel sorry for them. He pointed to the group in question, who all seemed like they would play being ninja rather than just being ninja. PFF ha ha ha. Yeah, I guess you're right. As they walked into the academy. Oh, and remember what I told you. Naruto got into his best Anko impression. Hold back just enough to make people think you're weaker than them. Deception is a ninja's bread and butter. Yada yada yada. Yeah, I know. I'll keep my skills to myself for now, but that doesn't mean I won't do stupid shit in class. You never did beat that out of me. He chuckled at that last bit. Why would I beat the creativity out of you? Some of those pranks were pure gold, Gaki. A small hint of shock filled her voice, though Naruto knew it was bullshit and she was with him. One of the few things he couldn't stand about the woman, she hid her jokes so well that sometimes you didn't know she was making fun of you. Yeah, he chuckled after a few seconds. So any last-minute advice? The buxom Kunoichi raised her hand to her chin thoughtfully. She seemed to honestly think about it for a good 5 seconds before reality and her merciless attitude reared its ugly head. Yeah, don't let your mouth write checks you can't cash. Try and make some friends, and for the love of Kami, watch out for fangirls. Fangirls. Beads of sweat formed on Naruto's brow as the word sunk in. That I'd rather go toe-to-toe with Fuzzbutt than meet one of those in a dark alley. Fit ha 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 ha. Anko's merciless laughter filled the air. That's a good mindset. Fangirls would tear you apart if they knew what kind of abilities you have at your fingertips. Hell, if I want to jump your bones when you're older, just think what a group of preteen girls would do. Naruto grew several shades of white. Plus I heard the Uchiha brat that survived that clan massacre is in your class. Hey, the boy has a fan club already. I'm surprised he's even alive right now with the way they're clawing at his door all the time. It took a moment before Naruto could recompose himself after that little mental torture Anko put him through. Okay, watch for fangirls. He shivered again. Try and make some friends and don't pick needless fights, got it? Can I show off a little to put arrogant pricks in their place? She gave him a thumbs up. Yeah, sure, Gaki. You have my blessing to take the sticks out of people's asses when you feel the need to, so go in there and kick some. Naruto's hand snapped to his forehead as he went rigid in a salute. Ma'am, yes ma'am. He roared, and ran off to his first class, ready to raise some hell. The door to the classroom slid open as the sounds of talking filled the air around Naruto. He looked around the room, taking in each new face with interest. Out of everyone there, only a dozen or so even looked at him. Well then, start with the friendliest looking ones, I guess. He readjusted all his clothing to make sure his foxy bits were hidden and walked over to a young boy who was munching away at a bag of chips like his life depended on it. Hello, name's Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto reached out his hand in a shake. The boy looked at the offered hand for a moment before taking it in his. Choji Akamaiki, he smiled, teeth flashing with some food between them. Choji, what have I said about swallowing your food before you talk? A bored voice droned from his side. Naruto turned to look at the boy next to Choji. Laid back, bored, pineapple hairdo. Hey, this guy looks interesting. He reached out his hand to the other kid. Naruto Uzumaki, nice to meet you. Shikamaru Nara. Same, he returned the shake again in a bored tone. After Naruto found his seat, he scanned the room. The other few people who still seemed interested in him were some kid with glasses and a long coat. Name was Shino or something like that. A girl he recognized as Hinata sitting in the back of the room. And two women who seemed to be fawning over someone in the corner. Or in other words, fangirls, stay the away mode, activate. Yahoo! A voice yelled from the back of the room. The three boys turned to see a wild-looking boy in a hoodie hopping up and down in joy. Oi, dog boy, keep it down. Naruto yelled at him. He had smelled a strong scent of dog when he walked in thanks to his new fox-like nature, but he couldn't place where it was coming from. Looking at the wild boy now, he could tell the smell was coming from him. The dog boy turned to Naruto with a scowl on his face. You wanna start something, huh? Hey, I don't start things, dog breath, I finish them. He replied in a cold tone that sent shivers up the spines of several people in the room. Oh, I am so thanking Anko for teaching me that killing intent trick. The look on everyone's face is priceless. The dog boy paled a little bit and a bead of sweat formed on his brow, but other than that he was holding up rather well. Why you picking a fight? He stuttered slightly. Nah, only if you start it, but I won't do anything unless you do something. I'm here to make friends and learn how to be a ninja, so what do you say? Friends. He reached his hand out for the third time that day and smiled a genuine smile. Dog boy's expression turned from scared to confused, his brow twitching nervously as his eyebrows knitted together. Sure, he said at length, name's Kiba Inuzuka. Naruto Uzumaki, and I gotta ask, why do you smell like a dog so much? I could understand maybe having a pet that has its scent on you, but that's not it, your entire body smells like it. You can smell that. You must have a pretty good nose. Yeah, my family is famous for our Ninken ninja dogs. You could say we're as a part of our partners as they are to us. That's sort of the reason I was yelling earlier. I just found out earlier today that I'll be getting my Ninken partner soon. His grin took up his entire face at that. Naruto looked a little freaked out at the boy's reaction to getting a dog. Yeah, okay. I can't really see myself with an animal partner, but whatever, to each their own. If you don't like animal partners, why do you smell like a fox so much, huh? Naruto was confused for a second before he palmed his face. Oh, yeah, that's just a part of my bloodline. His eyes widened a bit, he hadn't meant to say that. Most of the people in the room who were barely listening before now were eyeing the boy intently. You have a bloodline? Shikamaru asked. What is it? Yeah, it's kind of a first-generation bloodline, so I'm the first person in the village to have it, he laughed nervously. Shit, I didn't want to have to use this lie yet. Oh well, the QB container rubbed the back of his head. As for what it is, well, that's a bit of a long story. We have another 30 minutes or so before class starts. Kiba nudged him. Apparently he wasn't gonna let this go, so, in no little frustration, Naruto began his tale, using the lies Anko concocted for him to make making friends a bit easier on him, and being able to show off his foxy attributes without worrying too much about being looked on as a monster. Well, it starts 8 years ago on October 10th, the day of the QB attack. And my birthday, he said absently, making a few in the room wide-eyed. During the fox attack, the hospital I was in was crushed under one of the fox's tails. Apparently I was the only one there at the time, so I don't know what happened to my parents. Most assumed they had died in the attack and I was put into an orphanage. Well, it turns out that one of the QB's tails came extremely close to me during all that, and a large portion of its chakra blanketed the area around me. Now normally the fox's chakra would have killed any normal person exposed to it. Somehow, I survived, and up until a year ago I was a regular looking person, normal, except for a few whisker marks on my cheeks. He pointed to the marks in question. But a year ago my bloodline activated. The fox's chakra had changed my body a bit and mutated it into a bloodline, and well, I might as well get this out of the way while I'm letting everything out. He closed his eyes for a moment before taking his hat off and pulling his tail out from his pants. Yeah, I kinda got a few other gifts from that attack as well, he laughed nervously. Now there were many things that Naruto was expecting: fear, hatred, anger, all of the above in most cases, but the looks on the kids' faces shocked him to his very core. They look amazed. The boys of the class looked at him in awe while the girls. Oh Kami, they look hungry. They were eyeing his twitching ears and the way his tail flicked back and forth with a desire to glomp his foxiness. Naruto backed away quickly from the girls, which confused the boys in the room, that is, until they looked at the girls and started snickering at Naruto, who paled visibly. HN. A voice grunted from the side. Naruto turned to the sound, to eye a boy sitting on the far side of class next to a window. Let's see. Black hair, black eyes, broody emo attitude, yep. Definitely an Uchiha. The blonde was mildly annoyed by this. The bastard was ignoring him like he wasn't even worth his time. Boy, you got a problem with me? No, you're just a loser, that's all, he replied in an even voice. Almost all of the girls in the room swooned at his supposed coolness. Oh ho ho ho, he did not just go there. Naruto seethed, teeth gritted in anger. His anger quickly cooled though as a smile touched his lips. Hey, if you think I'm such a loser, kid, why don't you put your money where your mouth is, or are you afraid? The black-haired boy jerked his head towards Naruto, a look of anger on his face. Watch what you say, loser. I'm an Uchiha. The black-haired boy growled at him. PFF Uchiha, a clan who does nothing but steal the hard work of others, and they say they're nobility, more like a clan of thieves, more like it. That was it. The Uchiha boy was out of his seat and raising a fist back to strike. Naruto just smiled and stepped to the side, tripping the boy like Anko had done to him his first day of training. The Uchiha had speed, that's for sure, but after fighting the snake mistress for so long it felt like he was moving in slow motion. Sasuke picked himself off the ground and glared at Naruto with a look of pure hatred on his face. Naruto just stared. What? Was that it? Ha 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 ha. Seriously dude, you're pathetic. Another fist flew at the boy, but a quick grab caught the hand, and in a small movement Naruto had his leading leg between the Uchihas. In a single jerking motion the boy was flipped over his back and laid out on the ground. knocking the air out of his lungs. Naruto stood over him and stared intently into his black eyes. Look. I'm here to make friends and learn how to be a better ninja. I will even consider you a friend and ally if you do two simple things. That goes for the rest of you too. He snapped to the others in the room who flinched. 1. Don't make fun of me or the memory of my family. He paused to let those words sink in a little bit. And 2. Don't try to hurt those that I consider friends. You do that and we won't have a problem. If you don't, well, getting your handed to you is the least of your worries. His cold tone sent chills down several people's spine. He held his hand out. Name's Naruto Uzumaki. The Uchiha glared at the hand for a moment before grabbing it. Sasuke Uchiha, he grunted as he was hauled to his feet. Nice to meet ya. The blonde smiled, confusing everyone there. Where had that cold hard look the boy had on earlier gone? It was like it never existed. Troublesome, Shikamaru deadpanned from the side. Ooh, okay class, today we're going to be learning how to throw kunai and shuriken. The instructor pointed to a wooden target 15 feet away. The Chunin stood before the target, showed the class the correct method of handling both thrown weapons. With a quick flick the pieces of bladed death hurtled towards the wooden target. With a meaty thunk all of them hit home, a decent 7 out of 10 kill shots. The other 3 were not lethal but had it been on a human target would have hobbled them. Now line up in front of the target and throw the 5 kunai and shuriken that are provided. The children rushed to get in line. Naruto found himself near the back of the line. Thankfully he had his tail poked back down his pants and his cap back on before the teachers could come back into the room and start something. Now outside in the training area he could finally relax a bit. Hey Naruto. A voice whispered next to him. He turned to the voice and noticed Shikamaru and Choji right behind him. Yeah, what is it? He whispered back. Choji and me were wondering if you wanted to go out for barbecue later today, our treat. Apparently the two took his "I want to make friends" speech to heart. Damn, they start quick for being big and chronically lazy. Not that he was complaining any. Sure, where are you going? He wanted to get a good idea on which restaurant they were going to just to make sure it was a place he was at least tolerated. After Choji told him it was one of his parents' restaurants he calmed down a bit. It's not like they would stop him and his friends from eating at his own family restaurant just because of him, right? Thankfully that wasn't the case as Choji's father was there at the barbecue place. Choza had been at the council meeting that night and knew the boy wasn't the fox but its container. And when he and Naruto finally got to talk face to face it only cemented that fact, that and when Naruto had spoken of his love for ramen Choza had a look on his face as if he'd found a long-lost son. He let out a hearty laugh and told the chefs in the back to prepare a feast for his son and friends. Needless to say the 3 academy students had to roll themselves out of the building when the meal was finished. They spent the rest of the day cloud watching and just talking about things they found delicious, or troublesome. Ooh, yo Kiba, keep the mud off me. Naruto groaned, scrapping the Kiba's newly acquired companion off his shoe as Akamaru was gnawing bits of the straps off. Hey, I can't help it if he's teething, the boy tried to defend himself. Then get him a chew toy, damn it. He growled, yanking the dog off his foot and chucking him at Kiba. And if he ever humps my leg I will neuter him. Naruto let out a little key which made the few people around him sweat. Kiba on the other hand was bug-eyed and nodding in agreement. Strangely Akamaru was doing the same. Quiet down class. Naruto stopped threatening Kiba. Ooh. Shino and Naruto sat across from each other in the school library. Naruto had a book on tactics and theory, while Shino had a book on the many different species of insect of the Leaf Village, hardback first edition if I'm not mistaken. Shino. Naruto nodded to the boy. Naruto. He nodded back. Quote. 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 Good day Naruto-san. He stood up and started to walk away. You too Shino-san, he continued to read. Odd how he respects silence like that. Ooh. Naruto was walking through the hall towards his next class. So far the academy was pretty awesome. Thought the teachers taught a bunch of boring stuff almost every day, only letting them out to do exercises and practice the basic 3. He stopped when he noticed Hinata was nearby looking at him. Hey Hinata-chan. He waved to the pale Hyuga heiress, trying to be polite to the odd girl. Thump. Hinata. Why did you faint? Hinata. Ooh. Alright class, today we're going to have sparring matches to test out the taijutsu forms you've learned so far. Any form is allowed but lethal moves and strikes are strictly forbidden. The Chunin instructor pointed out Sasuke. Sasuke, you're up, now who's going to spar with him? None of the other kids wanted to get in the ring with him since out of the entire class Sasuke had the highest scores in taijutsu, that is if you're not counting. I'll fight the bastard. Naruto grinned as he walked to the front of the line. You sure about that, Dobi? You got lucky last time, this time I'll kick your. He pulled his shirt off, exposing his pale chest to the girls of the class, as expected. Oh my god, Sasuke is so hoot. The voice was piercing and could only belong to one Sakura Haruno. No doubt, another loud voice agreed, this one belonged to Ino Yamanaka. Both were fangirls, both scared Naruto to no end, however, for a good prank he would be willing to burst a few bubbles. He grinned ferally at Sasuke before slowly unbuttoning his shirt. He wore button-ups so he wouldn't have to remove his hat to take the shirt off, but oh what a wonderful sound it was to hear most of the girls in the class gasp, along with a few of the boys as well. Wait, what? Naruto was pretty built. His constant training with Anko had hardened quite a few areas of his body, leaving lean muscles. It wasn't grossly disproportionate for his age, it simply flowed with his body type, compact muscles on a compact frame, and on naturally tanned skin no less. The fangirls in 3, 2. Oh my god. 1. He mentally chuckled. Okay Sasuke, let's get this over with. He took up the academy stance since it was what they were learning and egged the Uchiha on with a, come get some, motion. Meanwhile on the sidelines, Sakura. Yeah Ino. Naruto is hot. Like really, really hot. Yeah I know. What should we do? I don't know. Quote. Hinata meanwhile was passed out with a massive nosebleed and whispering something about snuggling foxy blondes. Hey, 4 years. Has it really been 4 years? Naruto grabbed the back of his head and leaned back in his seat in the corner of room. He looked around at the class as they were called to the front to take the graduation test. Over the course of the past 4 years he had made fairly decent headway in his studies, getting up to what he thought would be mid-Chunin's skill before a fairly glaring wall halted his progress. Using Kage Bunshin's had been a godsend for him. Being able to learn at an accelerated pace could only ever be a plus, and he had taken it well beyond the extreme to take advantage of his new elemental masteries. He finished each of his change in chakra natures, so he was fairly proficient in his own mind. There were masters out there that could still control elements much greater than himself, but he could still give an average shinobi a run for their money. One of the greatest accomplishments that Naruto's clones could claim were his raise in academics. While he wasn't top of the class, he was still more knowledgeable about ninja life than pretty much anyone else in his class, and to a certain extent in the entire village, because he hadn't just brushed up on his ninja skills and history. He had expanded his library to include things that would help him later on in life, like fabricating his own weapons and supplies. Dustin had run him ragged teaching his smithing craft to the blonde-haired child. Naruto shivered at the memory. Flashback. Ring. Naruto, what can I do for you today, my boy? Dustin smiled at the kid. He was 10 now and had sprouted up a little bit since the last time he'd seen him. I was wondering, sir, if you could teach me blacksmithing. Dustin raised an eyebrow in surprise. And what would a ninja need to know blacksmithing for? Naruto twitched a little, rubbing his arm apprehensively. Well, I kinda need it for that thing we talked about when we first met. The man's surprise grew. He'd thought the boy would give up on that when it got too difficult, but to still be trying after 3 years showed dedication, and that was one thing Dustin prized above almost anything else. Heyo dad. Well, almost anything. He prized his daughter more than anything else. Hello Tenten. Naruto greeted her, throwing her a little salute. Hey Naruto, how have you been? It's been what? 2 months since you last came by. I've been doing good, and yeah, it's been a while. been too busy with the academy and training. You too. Man, you're lucky. I have to deal with all the stiff shirts in the advanced classes. There's this dude in my class, his name's Neji Hyuga. A real hardass, kinda cute I have to admit, but he doesn't have anything on you. She let out a little smile at the blonde maverick. Naruto snorted at that. You should see the girls of my class. After that little spar between me and Sasuke, it's been a civil war between the fan clubs. I'm still shocked I have a fan club. Naruto shivered unconsciously, hearing the phantom wails of the couple of girls in his class that fawned over him. What was that? Tenten wondered. I felt a disturbance in the force. The what? Nothing. Anyway, I was trying to get your dad here to teach me a bit about blacksmithing. I just need a bit of training so I can make a few things myself when I need them. PFF'd. Yo dad, she threw him a thumbs up. Don't worry about the whole, take my secrets to the grave, shtick, teach Naruto here the basics and put him through the gauntlet. She let out a little evil chuckle. Dustin shared it, which made Naruto slightly uncomfortable, standing there with them leering at him. This is going to hurt, isn't it? Naruto asked blandly. Oh, you have no idea. She chuckled. Quote. End flashback. After the torture that was learning from Dustin was over, Naruto could honestly say he was humbled by the blacksmith. Sure, he wasn't anywhere close to a pro, but he could still make many of the things that the village wouldn't give him. Only one real problem kept the boy down. Plainly speaking, his strength was shit. The wall that kept him tethered to low mid chunin in skill was his body couldn't handle the forces involved with his rise in skills. He was taller and stronger from his ordeal with Kyuubi Shore, topping off roughly 4 inches taller than his canon self. Just slightly shorter than Rock Lee, but he still had to build up his skills slowly but surely through constant training. Speaking of ordeals, after he had spilled the beans about his new foxy bits to the class, the kids went back and told their parents about the kid with the foxy bits in class. From what he could gather, the parents had told them to stay away from the demon child, so he doesn't hurt you. Bah! With his natural good-natured personality along with his constant joking in class, many of the kids ignored the warnings, to the parents' dismay. Word had also spread around town about his new accessories, but other than a few more glares, maybe a raised hand or two, nothing seemed much different. It was either the fear of Kami that Anko put into people or the constant pranks he pulled that kept most of the civilians from taking him seriously. He still preferred to hide the ears and tail though, by either stuffing them away under clothing or hiding under a hinge, it didn't really matter. As for his classmates, for 4 years he had been keeping tabs on them, creating a mental dossier on their personalities and abilities just in case he was ever paired with any of them. Naruto turned his gaze to the duck-headed wonder in the corner of the room and just stared. He couldn't describe the feeling of putting the arrogant Uchiha in his place when he stuck his head out during their spars. Overall, Sasuke was a nice guy when you got to know him. Broody. Yes. Self-centered. Yes, but a decent guy nonetheless. He did carry a bit too much emotional baggage with him, a fact that Naruto would eventually break the boy of if it was the last thing he'd do. After all, he really was one of Naruto's first true friends, so if he could help the Uchiha get over his pissy attitude, he'd count that as a positive point in his book. Following the rows of the room had his eyes land on Sakura. The girl was good, a bit annoying in her fangirlish attitude, not to mention violent, but a clever mind and greater control of chakra you will not find in any of the other students, except for maybe Naruto himself. The girl next to her, Ino, like Sakura except less book smart and more seductive. I swear she acted like a half the time in class, but damn it if wasn't effective. Continuing on, Kiba, another good guy, loyal to a fault, decent friend, kind of annoying after he got his dog. Some of the others in class think his is going to his head when he starts yapping off about starting his own pack. Hell, Naruto could start his own pack whenever the hell he wanted, with his mastery over his ice bloodline, the main elements, the foxy bits, and any other hidden bloodlines he may still hold. He could have his own damn harem if he just asked the council to supply him with the women, though that thought made the boy's stomach turn. Turning himself into breeding stock was not the most pleasant idea he'd had that day. Above and to the right were Shikamaru and Choji, the brains and the muscle. They were awesome people to hang with, and it only helped him along when he realized that old Shika was a freaking genius. The fact the guy had an IQ over 200 was just scary, but you couldn't find a better challenge at Shogi or Go in the village. He still hadn't beaten him once, in 4 years. Near the back of the class on his row was Shino, who was just Shino. The guy gave him the creeps, but he was a smart person to hold a conversation with when he did open his mouth for more than a few casual words. Cerulean eyes fell on the one thing in the room that Naruto couldn't come to terms with. Hinata. The girl was a mystery to him. She followed him at a distance everywhere. It wasn't like he really minded her watching him from afar. She never did look at him with animosity or hate, just a quiet acceptance and reverence. He had come to appreciate the quiet girl's gaze, as it was a strangely relaxing feeling knowing someone was watching you with a positive attitude. The big problem, however, was getting the girl to talk to him. In 4 years she hadn't said more than maybe a couple dozen words to him, and any time he tried to talk to her she had just blushed a very dark shade of red and passed out, again something he'd have to figure out and tackle at a later date. Right now was game time, the end of the school year, the make it or break it of the academy. Iruka was handing out several written tests to the class. Boring, the blonde mentally droned. He had no problem doing the written work, he just had too much pent-up energy at the moment. He was a man of action, damn it. After the written test was the practicals, basically a grade on standard academy taijutsu and using ninja tools. He was decent at the academy style, but he preferred a variant that tossed in Anko's style. His hit rate for kunai and shuriken was 8 out of 10, not bad but not good either. After that was the final part of the test, the basic 3, bunshin, kawarimi, and henge. To Naruto, this part was the most important. He hadn't really mastered any of the basic 3 regardless of the fact that they were the foundation of all the ninja techniques beyond. He knew Kage Bunshin, so the clone part of the test was in the bag. His transformation wasn't that bad. In fact, with his jutsu he was actually damn good at it. His replacement was decent, nothing to write home about but still a passing grade. All in all, he had this in the bag, and thanks to a small incident involving a certain white-haired chunin he didn't have to worry about anyone screwing with his test score. Yeah, good old Mizuki Tem had up before the graduation test ever started. He'd noticed Mizuki acting a bit on edge and staring at a few of the failing students with really bad grades, you know, the disposable kind. Well, acting shifty in a village of ninja may be par for the course, but doing that while teaching a class of students that have a majority of the clan heirs in said class, and you have a very big problem. One word to Sarutobi and a squad of Anbu were tailing Mizuki's. The bastard was caught red-handed when he was pulling a kid aside to have him steal the forbidden scroll of sealing. After that, they threw his to Ibiki and found out he had been sabotaging the entire class in one way or another for years. A serious crime in its own right, but there were several other dark and dirty secrets that all but damned Mizuki to a life in prison. Uzumaki. Naruto, get down here. Iruka's voice cut into his musing. Come on, Naruto. It's your turn, or do you want me to fail you? Alright. Geez, you'd think the Kyuubi rose from the grave or something. Naruto stole a small glance at Iruka's pale white face and snickered quietly. Kami, he loved doing that. Iruka was a nice guy if a bit gullible. Okay, what's my score of awesome on a scale of 1 to 10? Teeth glimmered as his grin took up his whole face. Ha ha, very funny. Iruka deadpanned. And if you must know, 3. Oh, he bust a gut when Naruto's grin turned into a deep frown. He had definitely gotten under the blonde's skin with that one. You're gonna pay for that one, Iruka-sensei. Okay, clone, replacement and transformation, right? A nod of confirmation. Okay, let's do this. In a one-handed handseal he summoned 5 Kage Bunshins. In a puff of smoke 2 of them were transformed into Iruka and Mizuki. The other 2 transformed into large katanas. The 2 human clones grabbed the katana clones and rushed each other. In a flurry of stabs and slashes the 2 dueled. A thrust by clone Iruka was diverted to the side and a follow-up by clone Mizuki, who cut down the length of the scarred chunin's blade. It would have taken Clone Iruka's head off had he not brought the guard of his blade up and raised the attack harmlessly overhead, to keep from getting slashed on the downward cut. Clone Mizuki crouched down and took one hand off of his blade, and with a yell he lanced his fist out and landed a blow into Clone Iruka's sternum when he raised his blade to strike Clone Mizuki, causing him to dispel. Or so he thought as a sword ripped through Clone Mizuki's shoulder, dispelling him to reveal that Clone Iruka had replaced itself with the fifth Naruto who had crept up behind Clone Mizuki to blindsided him. Another cloud of smoke signaled the clone's dispelling, leaving an astonished class and Iruka to stare at the blonde maverick, who just so happened to be fiddling with his ninjutsu. So do I pass? He grinned mischievously. Iruka could only nod dumbly at him. The whole duel between his clone self and the Mizuki clone took only a couple of seconds, but the sword play was impressive. Hell, he couldn't move as fast as those clones had. He threw a glance at Naruto for a second. Those were shadow clones, weren't they? Yep. Gotta love one of the most useful jutsu ever. His grin hadn't left his face. Well, it's not the Academy Bunshin, but it is an advanced Bunshin and it is acceptable in this case. Congratulations, Naruto. You pass. He flashed him a warm smile. Naruto's come a long way. Hey, only a few years ago I saw him as nothing more than the fox in human skin, but just look at him. No demon could ever be this goofy. I just hope he can handle the world outside the village the way he handles himself here. ... Oh, who am I kidding? He doesn't need to prepare for the world needs to prepare for him. His thoughts were filled with praise for the boy in front of him. It was truly inspiring to see how much he had grown both physically and mentally these last 4 years. He tossed Naruto his hitai, who immediately tied it around his head as he took his seat at the back of the class. Alright class, that's it for today's test. Those of you who passed come back tomorrow to meet your new sensei and find out your team placements. For those of you who failed, there is always next year, so keep practicing. Dismissed. He turned and walked out of the classroom. The next day, Anko stood in front of her mirror, trying on several new dresses she had bought over the weekend. She wanted to take Naruto out after he graduated and pass the real genin test. After all, she had spent 5 years with the boy and their relationship hadn't really gone anywhere. Sure, there was the occasional kiss and they did pretty much everything with each other, bathing, eating, even shopping. Hell, they could be called a married couple in everything but having, which Naruto made clear the year before when she had initiated a bit of a dirty bubble bath, that they would wait till he was a bit older to do that sort of thing. That didn't stop Anko from teasing and corrupting the boy as much as she could. Much to his ever-present annoyance, but she didn't care. He was fun to be around with and that's all that really mattered to her. Hell, even the threat the council threw at them every year or so about multiple wives or having children didn't faze her. In fact, they had a conversation just a few months ago that if he ever found someone else to share with, that she would support him in his choice. It's not like she minded really. More fun for her in her mind. She flashed a feral grin. A little-known secret to only a select few women that had known her before her marriage was that Anko was, and she had no problem with a ménage à trois. In fact, on several occasions she even promoted it. If Naruto ever did find another wife to marry. The feral grin never left her face as pervy thoughts floated through the snake mistress' mind while she tried on another dress, this one more mesh than fabric. Ooh, uggghh, so bored. Our blonde-haired hero moaned in anguish. It had been an hour and a half since the last of the teams had left. He looked at the only other 2 people in the room. His teammates, the ever-broody Sasuke and his pink-haired chia pet Sakura. He had tried to start up a conversation with them, but Sasuke had blew him off because he was in one of his moods. Honestly, you'd think he was on the rag. Note to self. Tell the narrator to shut the up about femme Sasuke. Fourth wall breaking aside, he really was bored out of his gourd. Looking around one more time, he finally sighed and stood up. The Uchiha noticed the movement out of the corner of his eye. Yo, Dobi, what are you doing? I'm bored, he remarked dryly, as he started doing one-handed push-ups. If we're going to be sitting here for hours on end, we might as well do something productive while we wait. He raised an eyebrow. And what exactly are you doing? What's it look like, Tem? I'm training. I'd rather my muscles not atrophy while we wait. Finishing a set on one side, he switched to the other. If you want, I can show you a few tricks to getting a good workout. What do you say? Sasuke looked around for a moment before sighing. He'd never admit it, but Naruto was right. It was boring as hell in this place. Alright. He stood up and walked over to Naruto. What kind of training is this? Naruto sat up for a moment, and looked around. He noticed a small stack of flashcards under Iruka's desk. Alright, here's what you do. He grabbed a couple slips and handed one to Sasuke. First off, I'll explain the chakra part of this exercise. Simply, use your chakra to stick that piece of paper to your forehead like this. He reached up and placed the paper on his brow, and like a piece of tape it stuck. Once you get this part, start doing physical exercises. I find that push-ups and sit-ups get the best results out of this. Not only are you working your chakra reserves with the paper, but when you're concentrating on keeping the paper on and doing the exercises, it'll increase your control as well. Not to mention you're still getting a workout that's that much harder since you are using chakra while you're exercising. Sasuke looked at the paper in his hand for a moment, shrugged and stuck it to his head. It didn't stick as well as he had wanted it to, but it stayed. He sat down and started doing crunches, sweat beading his brow. Sakura was watching her crush work out with a blush on her face. He was just so. Naruto rolled his eyes. He knew exactly what she was daydreaming about, and it sickened him to no end. Sure, Sakura was hot, but Anko had beaten an ever-present fear of fangirls into him. To him, fangirls were scum, lower than dirt, and to hell if he was going to have one on his team if he had anything to say about it. Sakura! He yelled, snapping her out of her Sasuke-induced trance. You going to join us? Why should I? She bit back. Well, for one thing, you're weak, he deadpanned dryly. Naruto, you jerk. I am not weak. Yeah, you are, and quit lying to yourself about it. Out of the entire class, you have the worst physical ability. Ino has better taijutsu skills than you. Hell, Shikamaru has better taijutsu than you, and he's one of the laziest people I know. Sakura shook in anger, tears welling in her eyes. She was about to run from the room when Naruto stopped her. But, that's why I'm trying to help you, Sakura. He tossed her one of the slips. Just doing this exercise over a period of a month almost doubled my chakra control, and it increased my strength by a fifth. Multitasking is an essential in battle, and being able to concentrate on your physical attacks while you're unconsciously controlling your chakra is beyond helpful. That's why I turn my entire day into one big exercise. Even when I'm relaxing, I'm still doing something to better myself. After we get done today with our sensei, you should look into it too. Using weights, going the long way to your destination, sticking leaves or other light stuff to your body with chakra throughout the day. Stuff like this is great training for a good ninja. Clapping filled the air around them. The three genin turned to the sound to see a silver-haired masked man standing in the doorway. Hey, I was gonna say my first impressions of you three was, I hate you, but it seems I have someone fairly competent on my squad. Spiky over there has it right. That's a great exercise. You got 30 minutes. After you're finished training, meet me on the roof. He then disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Well, that was interesting. Naruto's sweat dropped. Minus 30 minutes later. Naruto, that sucked. The only girl there bitched. My muscles are already sore. That's because you were using chakra at the same time as you exercised, thus you couldn't use chakra to do most of the work your muscles should be doing, so all that effort was placed on your muscles alone, which in turn increases the effects of the workout. Naruto pointed out as they reached the roof. It still sucked. She huffed. Naruto just palmed his face in irritation. Yo. The silver-haired Jonin hailed them from the edge of the roof. Alright, now that you're all up here, I think it's time we introduced ourselves. Give your likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, and some hobbies. Here I'll start. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I have many likes and dislikes. I don't know you well enough to tell you my dreams for the future, and I have hobbies. He nodded to them. Well, that was informative, Naruto remarked dryly. Yeah, all we got was his name, Sakura agreed. Kakashi looked bored. Doesn't matter. You first. He pointed to Naruto. Well, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like training, ramen and proving myself, my dream. Naruto's face darkened a second. Actually no, not a dream, my goal is to restore the Uzumaki clan and become a better Hokage than any that's come before me so that the people of this village can look up to me as a true shinobi. Kakashi stared at him a moment. Well, isn't that interesting? He nodded. Hobbies. Well, besides pranks and practical jokes. Kakashi's sweat dropped. Yeah, I saw your handiwork the other day, painting the Hokage monument in broad daylight and nobody noticed you till you were done. How exactly did you pull that off? Naruto laughed. Sorry sensei, a good magician never reveals his secrets. Kakashi I smiled at him. Oh ho Mr. Magic, and how many Anbu chased you around town after that little stunt? Hey, 2 teams of Anbu, 11 Chunin and 4 Jonin. He had his hands behind his head with a shit-eating grin on his face. Sakura and Sasuke just stared blankly at him. What the hell Dobi? Sasuke said, dumbfounded. Naruto looked at him. You say something. The 3 genin turned after hearing a crash to see Kakashi face first on the floor. Am I already rubbing off on them? Kakashi wondered, face still firmly planted on the ground. After removing said face from said floor, he pointed at Sakura. Okay Bubblegum, you're next. Sakura glared at him. Sakura Haruno, my dreams are. She glanced quickly at Sasuke. My hobbies are, again at Sasuke, I like Sasuke and I hate Naruto. Naruto sighed. Out of all the kids in the academy he was stuck with Broody and the Beast. Well, isn't she shallow? Kakashi thought blandly. Okay Duckhead, you're next. Ha, I knew other people thought that about your hair. Guess who said that? Sakura glared at Naruto and Sasuke scowled. Sasuke Uchiha, I hate a lot of things and I like few. I don't see why we are talking about dreams since Naruto has it right for once. I don't have a dream, I have a goal. My goal is to restore my clan and its honor, and to kill a certain someone. An airy silence filled the air as Naruto and Sakura inched back a few hairs from the ki Sasuke was giving off. Dare I ask about your hobbies? Kakashi wondered dryly, ignoring the ki. Training, brooding and knitting. Kakashi choked. What was that last one? He asked quickly. Knitting, Sasuke replied with a straight face. Kakashi suppressed the need to giggle like a schoolgirl. If Sasuke's parents knew his hobby they'd be rolling over in their graves. Just thinking of Fugaku catching his son knitting made him choke and his mother Makoto would have made him her little princess like she did Itachi. After a few seconds of inner conflict on whether or not to fall over in fits of giggles or just to point and laugh, he thankfully did neither and opted to file it away under blackmail for later use. Okay, now that we understand each other, I want you to meet me at Training Ground 3 tomorrow at 7 a.m. for survival exercises. Oh, and don't eat anything, or else you're gonna throw up. He chuckled a little before he shuntioned away. And like that he leaves us with nothing to go on, greatest sensei Ivar. Naruto palmed his face with a tick mark showing prominently. Whatever. Alright, ignore the last thing he said and eat tonight and in the morning, okay? The other 2 looked at him like he was stupid or something. But sensei just told us not to eat, why would we break the rules like that? Sakura rubbed her legs together nervously. 2 things. 1. Tomorrow is most likely not going to be a survival exercise, it's probably gonna be a test on teamwork. Hell, why would they go through all the trouble of sticking us on teams and preaching about teamwork all throughout the academy if it wasn't about teamwork? The looks on their faces told him they hadn't thought of that. 2. Since he directly told us not to eat anything while taking into account that he's probably going to be pitting us against each other tomorrow, it's safe to say that he's going to try and turn our tempers on each other to test our teamwork and resolve. After all, starving and desperate ninja a good team do not make. So eat something, it doesn't have to be much, just enough so we don't kill each other tomorrow out of hunger and stress. They both nod. If anything they could just blame Naruto if things went south, so with that and a few goodbyes Team 7 headed home for the night. Today sucked. Naruto groaned mentally. I wonder what Kakashi will have us do tomorrow. If I know Sasuke and Sakura, they probably won't eat anything, so just in case bring an apple for both of them or something. Sigh. So much to do tomorrow, might as well get some sleep while I can. As Naruto nodded off, he felt a slight tug on his conscience. Sigh. This better be good, Kyuubi. He opened his eyes and he was again in that familiar sewer. Seriously, he needed to clean this place out. He turned to stare at the beast behind the cage, waiting for it to speak. Kyuubi looked down at him with a small grin on its face. Hello, monkey. I see you graduated today from that pathetic excuse you call an academy. Yeah, yuck it up, furball. I'm on my way to becoming Hokage and ain't nothing gonna stop me now. So what did you need me for? Sigh. Honestly, it's kind of lonely in here. It's been more than a year since you've even come in here. There's nothing to do except sleep and torment you, and seeing as you don't torment easily, it's gotten rather boring in here. Well, sorry if my head doesn't match to standards. Suck it up, you're a man, take the pain like the rest of us. Naruto was about to make another smart comment when a large amount of killing intent flooded the room. He snapped his head towards Kyuubi and stared into its eyes. There was a mixture of anger and hurt in them. What the? Kyuubi grit its teeth in anger, glaring holes into Naruto. That's just it, you stupid monkey. I am not a male. Wait, what? The blonde's eyes flew wide in shock. You're a girl. The fox facepalmed, somehow, and spoke evenly. Yes, I am a female, a girl. How do you not notice these things? He looked a bit sheepish. Well, I just assumed, with such a deep voice and all. A tick mark formed on her head. I'm 100 times your size, mortal. My vocal cords are much larger than yours. If I was your size or you mine, we'd sound the same as the other. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment before a look of disgust crossed his face. But that means, ugh, gross. What? The vixen tilted her head curiously. I was going to say it must suck having your junk soaked in this sewer all day long, but now that I know you're a girl, that must suck even more. He scrunched his nose in disgust. Now you know why I don't like you that much. Your mind is filthy, figuratively speaking. Well, what do you want me to do? It's not like I can remove all this water, and I sure as hell ain't removing that seal. Well, you could. What? The fox looked around its cage, its significantly drier cage. How? She wondered in astonishment. What did you do? Naruto turned back to the entrance of the room, noting the receding water. Huh. I guess I just thought of it drying out and it must have done it. You fool, a mindscape doesn't work like that. I told you as much the first time we met. A mindscape is a representation of one's own current mental state along with past experiences. If you're sad, it rains. Happy, it's sunny. Depressed, it's foggy or dank like this sewer. The fox gestured with one of her clawed hands. This is direct control over one's mindscape. Only people who are true masters of the mind like those Yamanaka monkeys can do something like this. Naruto tilted his head curiously. So you're saying that I can directly change anything I want in my mind? In essence, yes. This may be another bloodline of some sort that you absorbed that day, or maybe it mutated from something you absorbed. Whatever it is, it's interesting to say the least. You got rid of the water here and that's a welcome change for me at the very least. Maybe now my fur might finally dry out. Naruto stared at Kyuubi for a moment, looking around the dank musty room in thought. This place is a disgrace. He noted dryly. He looked back at Kyuubi, who seemed to be enjoying the dryer cage immensely. And she's loving just having a dry place to sleep. Cammy, now I feel like such a bastard for keeping her in this damn place. Wait, that's it. He cupped his hands and yelled up at the vixen, Oi, Kyuubi-chan. The fox growled in anger at being addressed as such. What mortal? You don't like this sewer, do you? She glared at him dryly. I'd think that would be obvious. Who in their right mind would enjoy living in a place like this? Naruto's sweat dropped. Point taken. Well then, let's see how this works. Naruto scrunched his eyes in concentration, focusing on something. Slowly the walls of the room seemed to expand and disappear, leaving a bright white light in its place. Trees shot up from the floor, their leaves sprouting from nothing. The sound of songbirds filled the air along with the sounds of wind blowing through a forest. After the transformation was complete, Naruto opened his eyes to look at his work. It was the forests outside Konoha. He had even recreated the city in the distance. He turned to the fox who was sitting outside of the cage for once. However, there was a tattoo on its chest in the kanji for seal. So how's this? That better for your fur? The fox's jaw dropped to the floor. How? How in the hell did you create something this detailed so quickly? Hey, this is the part of the forest I see every time I sit on the Hokage monument. I just imagine the trees and kinda put the village in the distance, so. What do you think? Fur bristled in the breeze as Kyuubi stretched out her limbs. What are your views on interspecies relationships? Huh, why do you? Kyuubi's face stretched into a playful grin as a giant puff of smoke filled the area. Oof, the blonde gasped as the air got knocked out of him. He landed on his back in a heap with something heavy on his chest. As his head stopped spinning from smacking the ground, he happened to glance at the heavy thing in question only to freeze as he noticed that same playful smirk above him, only smaller and more human, and hotter. Wait, what? That's why. Sharpened canines flashed in the sunlight as Kyuubi let out an ear-to-ear grin. She had transformed herself into a human, or rough equivalent to it. The foxy attributes that she shared with Naruto were a dead giveaway that she was a little more foxy than what her beauty suggested. Her face shined in the morning light, her seductive eyes framing her face as it trailed down a rather cute nose to full luscious lips. She wore a full-length burnt orange kimono with spiral designs. The kimono itself was opened in the front to reveal a rather large chest on which the same tattoo for seal stood out on her snow-white skin. Her eyes were red and slitted like normal, and her hair was a dull rusty orange, as well as her tails, all 9 of them, which splayed out behind her in a fan shape, each flicking independently. You have no idea how long I've wanted out of that cage. 12 years. 12 years sitting in that sewer of a mindscape looking at nothing but dark, pipe-covered walls. Thank you, Kit. I know we may have started off on the wrong foot, but doing this has seriously raised you a few notches in my book. I just might not kill your loved ones now. She smiled again, despite the fact that she had just threatened to kill his loved ones, at least indirectly. Naruto's sweat dropped. Yeah, okay. He looked up at Kyuubi, who was still straddling his chest. Well, this is awkward. Kyuubi blinked a couple times before she fell over laughing. PFF ha 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 ha. Kit, you are so innocent it's not even funny. She tossed him a smirk and ground herself on his chest a bit for effect. Don't you like this form? A little too much actually. Could you get off me? You're kind of crushing me. He gasped a few times to get his point across. Boo, you're no fun, she pouted playfully before that smirk took its place back on her face. But you are interesting, you actually care about my well-being. You're the first person to do that for me. Most are either too scared of me or are using their powers and just lording over me. You're the first to actually treat me like an equal. Naruto blinked once. What? Have you never had a friend before? A friend? She put a finger to her chin in thought. Can't say that I have. The 2 containers I had before were complete bitches to me. She pouted again, this time in anger. Naruto's eyes flew wide. Wait, there's been Kyuubi Jinchuriki before me. His voice squeaked a little. When? Who? Well, obviously 12 years ago, since that's when I was released from the last container, and roughly 20 odd years before that for the other container. That container held me for several decades actually before she passed me on to your predecessor. You said, bitches. So are you saying the 2 containers before me were female? Kyuubi looked lost in thought for a moment, seeming at war with herself on how she should answer his question. After a moment of thought she nodded once. Yes, Naruto. My last 2 containers were female. They were Mito Uzumaki, one of your distant relatives and wife to the first Hokage. Naruto on the other hand was wide-eyed. He had just discovered the name of one of his relatives. He knew she couldn't be alive if she was the wife of the Shadaime Hokage, but still, it was a start. And the other? He asked tentatively. Kyuubi looked into Naruto's eyes. There was a pleading there, a want to know about the others before him, but this this was going to be difficult to explain. My last container was your mother Kit. Kushina Uzumaki. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki stood deathly still as his hair shadowed his eyes, ever so slightly he started to tremble. It wasn't noticeable at first, but as it grew you could tell he was crying. He curled up into a little ball at the base of a tree and sobbed, the tears on his cheeks forming twin trails of moisture down his face. Kyuubi stared at the boy's whimpering form, his sobs echoing loudly around the empty forest. She sighed and gently wrapped her arms around the blonde. Naruto went rigid when he felt the contact. Wah! He tried to choke out. Just shut up, Kit, she said softly. I may be a demon, but I'm not heartless. Everyone seems to think we Biju are nothing but evil monsters. She gripped him a little tighter. To be perfectly honest, most of us aren't even evil. Sure, we're sadistic and like to with people, our containers even more so, but we're not heartless. She rubbed the boy's back soothingly as his tears soaked her kimono. So why are you crying, Kit? I know finding out about your mother this way was a bit unexpected, but still. That's not it, he cried. Then what is it? Long tears streamed down his cheeks. I'm just so happy, yet so sad. I can't help it. She blinked a couple times at that. What? I'm happy about knowing about my mother, but I know she must have suffered as much as I did. And just knowing that Dad loved her enough to have me makes me happy as well, but I'm also sad that I'll never know more than her name and maybe her face if there are any pictures of them left. Kyuubi made a soft sound of understanding as she held the boy, rubbing his back gently to calm him down. Kit, your mother wasn't treated the way people treat you. No one really knew she held me inside of her. Not to mention I hadn't attacked the village yet, so even if they did know, it wasn't as much of a stigma as it is now. Hell, back then people could have just called it an unstable bloodline and wouldn't have given it another thought. Naruto smiled bitterly at that. At least she had a better life than I've had so far. She chuckled. We're both having a hard time of it. I'll try and figure something out on knowing who they were. Don't worry about that too much. Huh, why would you do that? Kyuubi sighed. Because I'm actually sorry about what has happened to you. I never meant to attack your village. After being trapped inside of Mito and your mother for so long, I really didn't want to have anything to do with Konoha anymore. The tears in Naruto's eyes had dried by now as he looked at her confused. So why did you attack then? Kyuubi's face hardened in anger. It was all because of that man. She growled. The vibrations in her chest made Naruto shake. What man? He frowned. A sinking feeling filled his stomach. The man who was directly responsible for my attack on your village, and the deaths of your mother and father, she replied darkly, her voice trailing off as she remembered the day. Naruto's voice was quiet for a moment before he spoke two simple words. Tell me. Orange spiral mask and a Sharingan eye, the face of my enemy. Naruto brooded over this information as he walked towards Training Ground 3. Kyuubi had told him everything, how she had been controlled with a Sharingan to attack the village, even the last moments of his parents. He didn't blame Kyuubi. Hell, he'd be pretty pissed too if he had been trapped against his will inside someone or another for close to 60 plus years with a very likely chance of getting sealed back inside someone else by those same people. And from what he understood, his mom had whipped Kyuubi hard. The fact Kyuubi called it rough bondage didn't help either. He'd never look at chains the same way again. Disturbing thoughts aside, he felt good today. Today he could finally cut loose against someone, and a Jonin someone at that. Lucky. The only problem to his plans were the added baggage of Broody and the Beast. The test was teamwork, and their teamwork, for lack of a better term, was shit. The Uchiha prodigy was a pompous and tried to do everything himself. Sakura, on the other hand, was the exact opposite of Sasuke. She was fiery, yes, but she tended to only be fiery towards Sasuke, or when she compared her fist density to the hardness of his head. Brain injury aside, when Sasuke wasn't around, she could be introverted and quiet, hell, maybe even willing to work together, but once Pompous met, it would take a miracle to get them to work correctly together. Oh well, he sighed dejectedly, might as well at least try to work with them. Maybe the impossible will happen. With that thought, he walked onto the worn field of training ground 3. He noticed immediately that Sakura and Sasuke were already there. Sasuke was sitting silently under the shade of a tree while Sakura was leaning against one of the 3 stumps in the middle of the training ground. Sakura stared at Naruto with a frown planted firmly on her face. "You're late, Naruto." "Yeah, and so is Sensei. Did either of you eat anything?" He watched as both slowly nodded apprehensively. After all, if they were in trouble, now was the time for Kakashi to punish them for it. After a good 30 minutes of waiting, the 3 knew that Kakashi wasn't testing their adherence to the rules and was genuinely late, again. Naruto, who expected Kakashi's tardiness after he told Anko about who his new sensei was, it wasn't like she had to laugh so hard, but it did tip him off that the guy was a joke. The little quip Anko made about being late for his own funeral didn't reassure him either. After another hour, Naruto was starting to twitch. "Well, I'm tired of waiting for him." He turned to his 2 would-be teammates questioningly. "Would either of you like to train while we wait?" Neither moved from their positions. Both were clearly on edge. Naruto shrugged. "Fine, more for me. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." Instantly 5 Naruto clones appeared in front of him. "Alright guys, you know the drill." He tossed a scroll to the clones and they ran off into the woods to train. "Yo Dobi, what the hell kind of clone was that? I saw you use them during the graduation exam, but what are they?" "They're Kage Bunshin Sasuke. Shadow clones. Hella useful, but the drain they put on your chakra reserves is massive. If I were to estimate, you could probably only make 10 or so before you fell to the ground dead." "Then how did you make 5 of them?" He shrugged. "Simple. I have more chakra than you do. A lot more actually. Most likely more than our Jonin sensei, in fact. My fox bloodline increases the amount of chakra I have by massive amounts, more than a Kage's if what people tell me is correct. Only downside to this bloodline is my chakra control is complete shit. Those clones right there. I put enough chakra into them to make 10 clones. Before I got my control up, it would have been 50 or more." Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "So your bloodline doesn't really have any permanent weaknesses, does it?" Naruto stuck a finger to his chin in thought. He pulled his cap off, exposing the ears to the air. "Well, to be honest, I don't think I do. Besides really loud noises, these ears are fairly decent for hearing over large distances." He yanked the tail from his pants. "For the tail? I don't know. It really doesn't do anything more than increase my balance. I could probably find a use for it for something." "Have you ever tried holding something with it?" Sakura questioned. "No. Why?" She walked over beside him and pulled out a kunai. "Here, try and hold this." Naruto turned to look at the blade in her hand and mentally willed his tail to reach out for it. After a few failed attempts, he sighed in frustration. "Nothing. It just doesn't have the control necessary." Sasuke stared at the half-assed attempts by Naruto's appendage. "Why don't you try running chakra through it, Dobi?" The 2 ninja turned to stare at him. He pointed at the tail in thought. "I use wires all the time and running chakra through them makes the things easier to control. I imagine that tail would work the same way." Naruto looked back down in thought at his tail. He tested a bit of chakra going to the tip of the tail. Instantly the fur stood up on end and his entire body jolted, sending waves of electricity up his spine. "Holy shit." He stopped the flow of chakra and stared. "That was that." "What happened?" Sakura knelt down to where the tail was eye level. She was giving it that fangirl squee look, but there was genuine concern in her eyes, so Naruto wasn't gonna run for the hills just yet. "I don't know, it just started shocking me. Try putting less chakra into it then. Maybe you just forced too much in and it hurt you." Naruto nodded to the pinket and slowly forced a smaller amount of chakra in. It still tingled, but not nearly as bad. Once it reached the tip, the oddest thing happened. The tail went completely slack. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "The hell? What happened?" the pinket asked. He scratched his head. "I have no clue. This thing reacts to chakra in a weird way. I think I need to train with this thing for a while. Maybe I can use it." With a hand sign, a dozen clones were in a line in front of him. "Alright, go test this thing out." He grabbed his tail and shook it at the clones. "I want results by the end of the day." "Oui mon capitaine." They turned and ran off into the woods. Sakura sweat dropped. What is wrong with your clones? Naruto sighed comically. Some things are better left unsaid. Reet. The three genin sat quietly for another 30 minutes until a cheerful voice filled the clearing. Yo. Kakashi hailed them. He glanced over at Naruto and nearly fell over. He still had his tail and ears out for all to see, and this was a first for Kakashi seeing them. Interesting. I knew he had them, but it's just odd seeing things like that poking out of people. This may take some time to get used to. You're late. Sakura growled out. Surprisingly, Naruto kept quiet. Well, Kakashi began, I got lost on the road of life. Liar. The Pinkett fumed. Actually, Naruto interrupted. I believe him. Kakashi I smiled at that. After all, it's not every day someone gets laid. The eye smile widened in shock. Wah. The Jonin choked out. Naruto tossed Kakashi a book. Here, for the next time you get lost on the road of life. Kakashi knew what it was the moment it left the blonde's hand. The orange cover gave it away almost instantly, but what shocked Kakashi the most was that he had never seen this cover before, which could only mean one thing: it was a new Ika Ika volume. Kakashi slowly opened the cover, and there in all its glory was the signature of the author, and in bold letters, First Edition. He looked at the boy in awe. How? He said reverently. I have my ways. He grinned impishly. Thank you, Anko. That made a hell of a first impression. Kakashi stood frozen for a moment before bending forward quickly in a deep bow, much to the shock of the other two genin there. You have my deepest gratitude, Uzumaki-san. Yeah, create a shadow clone to go enshrine your book back home, you got a team to pass. He looked up at the blonde. So the brat knows it's a test. Interesting. Slowly he nodded once, a hand sign and a puff of smoke later his clone and the book vanished in a shunshin. A second later Kakashi's poker face was back while his body regained its comfortable slouch. Okay then. The one-eyed Jonin pulled out a clock and placed it on one of the stumps. This here is a timer set to go off at noon. 2 bells dangled from his fingers. You have until that time to take these bells from me. Those who don't, get sent back to the academy. The Sasuke and Sakura were shocked. Naruto not so much. Why would they get sent back to the academy if this was survival exercises? Unless. But sensei, there's only 2 bells. Sakura piped in. Correct, Sakura. That means even if you do get the bells from me, one of you will be going back regardless. Out of the entire graduating class, only 9 of you will be advancing to become full-fledged genin. This test has a 66% chance of failure and is used to root out the hopeless cases, so you better get the bells by lunch, or else. Also, for a little added motivation, if you don't get the bells by lunch, you won't get any lunch. Sakura glared at Kakashi in thought. So that's why he said not to eat, the bastard, and if he lied about that to get us, we can fight amongst ourselves then. She glanced at Sasuke, who was looking at her as well. They both thought. Naruto was right. This is a test of teamwork. They both glanced at Naruto, who was watching the both of them intently. Ever so slightly they nodded. A large grin crossed Naruto's face. Hey, we might actually do this now. He turned back to Kakashi with that grin still plastered on his face. Kakashi raised his only visible eyebrow. What are you up to? Sakura. Sasuke, you get it now, right? They both nodded. Good. Alright, One Eye, let's get this over with. I got places to go, women to meet, important stuff. He threw that impish grin from earlier at the cycloptic Jonin. Kakashi sweat dropped. He's Sue getting a 1,000 years of death. For that one, he coughed to cover his loss of composure. Alright then, be prepared to come at me with intent to kill or you'll never get the bells. Begin. In a burst of speed the 3 genin disappeared into the woods. Ooh. Across town outside a jewelry shop a young Hyuga heiress stood pouting, staring at a display case of engagement rings in the widow dreamily. She had passed by the shop thinking of a certain blonde-haired boy when she noticed the rings. After a few more moments she sighed in despair, as if Naruto-kun would ask me to marry him. What would he want with a plain girl like me? She shook those thoughts from her head. She'd never given up on him in the 4 years she's tried to be close to him, watching him grow into the person he is now. There was no way in hell she was just gonna let go of her feelings for him. She turned from the shop and marched off to one of her favorite spots in the village, simply because it was one of Naruto's favorite spots. The top of the Hokage monument. Ooh, what the is with these kids? Kakashi screamed in his mind as he dodged another barrage of kunai launched by a tripwire trap that had been set by the blonde maverick himself. In just a few minutes Naruto had booby-trapped a large portion of the forest that he was now running for his life in. Not to mention every so often Sasuke and Sakura would launch sneak attacks from behind him, only years of experience kept him from getting seriously injured. Or worse. 1 minute I'm chasing after Naruto, the next I am tripping over myself in a forest of pointy doom. How the kid had gotten a hold of so many kunai and explosive tags he'll never know. Backing up he felt a tug on his foot and looked down quickly to notice another tripwire against his heel. Shit. A set of explosions and kunai assaulted him from every direction which he narrowly dodged. I know I said to come at me with intent to kill, but this is ridiculous. Kakashi stopped for a moment to focus on the area around him and realized something odd. There was not a single sound around him. He leaned against a tree for a moment to get his bearings only for his eyes to go wide as ninja wire sprung up and wrapped around the tree, encircling him with near invisible wire. A sharp tug and the wires snapped taut, pinning him. Not a half moment after that, 2 shuriken flew through the air and struck his palms. Gah! Pain shot through his arms as the bladed stars tore into his hands to prevent any use of jutsu. A shadow appeared beside the one-eyed Jonin's head before darkness took him. What th is with these kids? Kakashi screamed in his mind as he dodged another barrage of kunai launched by a tripwire trap that had been set by the blonde maverick himself. In just a few minutes Naruto had booby-trapped a large portion of the forest that he was now running for his life in. Not to mention every so often Sasuke and Sakura would launch sneak attacks from behind him, only years of experience kept him from getting seriously injured. Or worse. 1 minute I'm chasing after Naruto, the next I am tripping over myself in a forest of pointy doom. How the kid had gotten a hold of so many kunai and explosive tags he'll never know. Backing up he felt a tug on his foot and looked down quickly to notice another tripwire against his heel. Shit. A set of explosions and kunai assaulted him from every direction which he narrowly dodged. I know I said to come at me with intent to kill, but this is ridiculous. Kakashi stopped for a moment to focus on the area around him and realized something odd. There was not a single sound around him. He leaned against a tree for a moment to get his bearings only for his eyes to go wide as ninja wire sprung up and wrapped around the tree, encircling him with near invisible wire. A sharp tug and the wires snapped taut, pinning him. Not a half moment after that, 2 shuriken flew through the air and struck his palms. Gah! Pain shot through his arms as the bladed stars tore into his hands to prevent any use of jutsu. A shadow appeared beside the one-eyed Jonin's head before darkness took him. -1 hour later. You think we overdid it? A girl's voice awakened the Jonin. Who cares? The Dobi's plan was awesome. A gruff male voice who he pinpointed as Sasuke answered. Hey, I never knew you cared, Sasuke. Nice work on the wires by the way, and the same with the shuriken, Sakura, said the current bane of the Jonin's existence. Trap master bastard, hell I'm tied up, he mentally groaned realizing he was tied to one of the training stumps of Training Ground 3. The irony of that wasn't lost on the cycloptic Jonin. I don't. You just had a good plan, retorted the Uchiha to the blonde's taunting. And thanks. No shit. The silver-haired Jonin groaned from the stump, a large black and blue welt on the visible side of his face right below his eye. Oh sensei, you're awake. Sakura giggled happily. What the hell hit me? The Jonin asked. That would be the Uzumaki special, said Uzumaki held up his left fist in front of his face and his eyes gleamed menacingly. Kakashi's sweat dropped. Taken down by a punch. I'm never going to hear the end of this once this makes the rounds at the Jonin lounge. Should have used the Sharingan from the beginning, damn it. By the way, sensei. Naruto held up both bells in his hand, Mission complete, he handed one to Sasuke and one to Sakura and grinned proudly. So do we pass or what? Kakashi hung his head in despair. He had no choice. Not only did they use more teamwork than he'd ever seen a genin team use, they had beaten him as well. Hell, they worked together like a well-oiled chunin team. How that happened he'd never know, but in a way he was proud to have them as his team. If this was just a taste of what they could do now, yeah, you pass. I guess you figured out the meaning behind this test, right? They nodded. He sighed again. By the way, how in the hell did you lay all those traps that quickly, Naruto? And how did you get your teammates to work so well with you? Naruto scratches his head in embarrassment. Hey, as for the first one, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The clearing was filled yet again with clones of Naruto, but this time there was over 50 of them. I can make dozens of shadow clones like it's nothing. These guys were setting up traps while you were stumbling through the first ones I set. Kakashi's face turned sour. He makes it sound like I'm a complete novice. His face straightened slightly, and the teamwork. Simple. For Sakura, I said I'd help her get the attention of Sasuke by helping her get stronger and keeping the other fangirls off of him. For Sasuke, I said I'd help him get stronger as well as keeping a majority of his fangirls away. So you bribed them, basically. Kakashi's sweat dropped again. Why am I not surprised? The ropes behind him snapped and he stood up, much to the surprise of the genin. Okay then, since you passed, meet me here tomorrow for mission assignments and team training, Naruto. Naruto jumped at Kakashi's raised voice. Yeah. Since you seem so adamant about helping your teammates get stronger, you'll be helping train them as well. Kakashi smiled. He's getting back at me, isn't he? The blonde's eyebrow twitched slightly in annoyance. Till tomorrow then, I have a make-out date with an ice pack. A swirl of leaves signified his departure as the rest of Team 7 left the training grounds, 2 of them heading home, the other heading to his most favorite spot in the village, the Hokage Monument.